Okay. So today,
yeah. Go ahead.
today, October 12th, 2023, it's our 28th meeting, reading Urantia book with Heidi. We are going to read paper 110, the relations of adjusters with individual modules, and section 1, Indwelling the Mortal Minds, and section 2, adjusters and human will. 今天是10月12日，北京时间，台北时间7点半，我们继续我们第28次会议与海蒂读玉苒廈之书，我们读第110篇调整者与个体凡人的关系，第一部分住在凡人的心识里，和第二部分调整者和人的意志，这个因为我们已经读完了这个莫基瑟德教义在东方那一篇，所以呢，我们大概有比较多的时间，所以我想，也许我们能够完成这个110篇的2部分哈，包括它的前言部分，那我们试试看吧。Heidi, yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Listen, did you say this was session number 28?
No, it's paper 110.
No, you said it was our 28th session
Oh,
together?
yes.
Yeah, because that's what I have. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, yeah, we have a half year already, I think. We just
I think when we get to number 50, we're going to have a party.
That's a big accomplishment, 1 year starting Urantia book. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. We'll have a party. We'll all bring a drink and we'll have a toast. And we'll invite the solitary messenger, a couple mighty messengers, a divine counselor, our guardian angels, and we'll have a good time.
他说：我们就是第28次会议哈，正好是半年嘛，对吧？一年是不是有56个那个星期？就是他说，如果完成1年了，我们应该有一个庆祝的这个 party 哈，来这个喝香槟，来这个就是庆贺一下，可以邀请那个单独使者啊、强大使者呀、这个天使啊等等，他们一起庆祝。
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so after we're done, I'm gonna ask Morningstar how things are going with her her celestial life. So I just want Morningstar, I want you to know we haven't forgotten you. And for everyone else, welcome again to another reading. And does anyone have any questions before we start?
他就说我们读完了以后，如果有时间的话，那么再请星辰来更新一下你的灵界生活。那个其他的伙伴，那么欢迎大家来参加读书。那伙伴们，就是你们有什么问题吗？在读之前，想请那个海蒂解答的。
Everyone good?
I think everyone good.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to say was, sometimes Karen reads, but let's see if anyone else wants to read.
Oh, Karen is not able to get on today. She already sent email to me, and today I think Shenli is going to read for us.
Good. I just want to make sure that other people get to read too, because it's nice. It's fun to read.
Yes, it's fun to take turn to read.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Shenli.
You're welcome.
Shenli helped editing our papers, starting 110. Yeah, she joined our editing group.
Oh, who, Shenli?
Shenli,
yes,
yeah.
Me, yeah.
Oh, nice. There's different people in every meeting, which is great. But Ricky, do you think that the people are because the same people can't attend all of our sessions? but do you think they're listening to the recordings?
Yeah, and Yapu, I think every time she listened to the recordings, because sometimes if I didn't send a recording, she will ask in the group where the recording. So I know
Okay.
that she's listening. So I think some people indeed they keep listening to the recording, including Eric, you know, who.
Yes, well, Eric told us. Yeah, Eric said he listens every time. So hello, Eric, and hello to our other brothers and sisters who are listening to the recording.
And Yapu, Yapu as well. Yeah. So people, you know, our, so whoever, you know, have no English name. So just, you know, give yourself a English name after a Chinese name. So I can recognize each one of you. Yes.
Yeah, but say that in Chinese.
对，那个就是大家如果以那个就在自己的名字后边哈，加上一个括号，标上英文名字，这样的话呢，对外国人来说，那个名字如果有个英文名字，对他们来说好像认识每一个人，是很好。所以呢，每个伙伴后边都加上一个英文的名字啊。好的。
And tell them if they can't think of a good name, pick something from the Urantia book.
如果想不到比较那个什么英文名字，可以从《玉染煞之书》当中挑一个名字，就搁上去就行。他就是幽默，有大家一默。好的 ，OK。
Okay, you know, I forgot to look up that remember we were talking about the word thought adjuster. It's such a strange word, and then we remember reading in the beginning of this section where it said there's 3 phases of your life, and sometimes they call them, I think I have to check, I forgot to check, but I think that they call it the thought adjuster for the first 20 years, and then the thought changer for the next 20 years, and then
no. Yeah, in the beginning you have this impression, but I told you it's wrong. So yeah, I definitely don't think the first phase is a thought adjuster.
Did you look it up?
No, I didn't, but my impression is that the first one is definitely not.
Okay, we'll
it's kind of changer, of transformer and adjuster. So adjuster is something in the middle. That's my impression.
Okay, I'll look it up when you're reading in Chinese. I can look it up in a second. It'll only take me a second to find it.
And how about the monitor? Is the same as another name of adjuster?
Yes. Mysterious monitor is
mystery. The mystery monitor.
And yes, 是神秘监督者哈，神秘告诫者，这思想调整者另外一个名字。
And sometimes, and I want everyone to know, sometimes they call it the father fragment, and sometimes they call it the divine spark.
或者叫父的片段，或者叫神圣的火花。
So I just want to
yeah, you read some paragraph while you're Shirley reading Chinese. You can look up whatever you want to look.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll definitely do that. Okay, all right, let's get started. Paper 110, Relation of Adjusters to Individual Mortals.
这个110篇，调整者与个体凡人的关系。
Okay, the endowment of imperfect beings with freedom entails inevitable tragedy, and it is the nature of the perfect ancestral deity to universally and affectionately share these sufferings in loving companionship. Wow. Okay, I just want to say before I read this, okay, I want to say this is really important because this is one of the biggest questions that almost every human being asks at some time, which is, if there is a loving God, why is there so much pain and suffering on the planet, right?
Yes. 他说这个第一句，一会儿沈丽读哈。沈丽，要不然你先把这读完，我再说他的那个。等会儿吧。那他就说这个第一段哈，的也许就是一个很多人都会问的问题哈，因为它关系到苦难的问题，就是说为什么神，如果是我们有一个爱的神哈，为什么是我们的生命当中这么多的苦难？
So we have to really pay close attention to what they're saying here.
那就是我们就是要现在就要这个仔细的看他是怎么说的关于这个问题。
Because I think the Urantia book explains this conundrum, right? This is a conundrum, this eternal question, right? So I think the Urantia book does a better job of explaining this than any other source or writings we've ever had.
对，这么一个很重要的问题，就是他认为玉书给出的答案比其他的灵性资料可能是更信实一些。
But okay, so the endowment of imperfect beings with freedom entails inevitable tragedy, and it is the nature of the perfect ancestral deity to universally and affectionately share these sufferings in loving companionship. As far as I am conversant with the affairs of a universe, I regard the love and devotion of a thought adjuster as the most truly divine affection. The love of the sons in their ministry to the races is superb. The sons are like creator sons, like Jesus. But the devotion of an adjuster to the individual is sublime, divinely father-like. The Paradise Father has apparently reserved this form of personal contact with his individual creatures as an exclusive creator prerogative. And there is nothing in all the universe of universes exactly comparable to the marvelous ministry of these impersonal entities that so fascinatingly indwell the children of the evolutionary planets.
好，这两段，沈丽。
好的，第一段，不完美的存有被赋予自由，必然带来悲剧。而完美主神的本质，就是在爱的陪伴下，普遍而深情地共担这些苦难。就我对宇宙事物的了解，我认为思想调整者是所有造物中最真正神圣的情感。圣子们在他们对种族的侍奉中的爱是极好的。但是调整者对个人的奉献是令人感动的崇高，像天父般神圣。天堂之父显然把这种与他的个体造物的个人接触形式作为一个专属的造物主特权保留下来。在整个诸宇宙之宇宙中，没有任何东西能完全与这些非人格存有的奇妙侍奉相提并论。这些存有如此迷人地住在进化星球的孩子们之内。好了。
Okay. So what they're saying is that, well, the book tells us two things. It tells us that the reason there's so much suffering and chaos and evil on this planet is they're not saying this here, but they say it throughout the book, is because this planet rebelled and we're isolated and we don't have a planetary prince. We don't have an Adam and Eve. So that explains most of the chaos and evil and sickness and corruption, etc., that we insanity really that we see on this planet.
就是我们这个星球为什么有这么多的痛苦啊、混乱呢？这个是，是因为我们这个是一个背叛的星球，我们没有行星王子和有效的那个灵性方面的一种教导和管理，所以有这么多的这个痛苦啊、疾病啊、腐败啊这些不太好的事。
But right here, what they're saying is that when you endow an imperfect being with freedom, and what they mean by freedom is free will, right? They are saying that entails inevitable tragedy. In other words, when you let someone who is not perfect do whatever they want, they're going to do the wrong thing a lot. But otherwise they don't have free will. Otherwise they're slaves or robots. So in order to give us free will, to let us learn from experience, to let us make our mistakes, to let us make our own choices, there will be tragedy. That's the price we pay for free will. That's what they're saying in the first sentence.
那么第一段呢，那个意思就是说，如果是不完美的造物呢，如果给他们自由呢，必然的会带来这个悲剧哈，因为他们会用他们的自由意志做很多的错事，但是如果不给他们自由意志呢，他们就可能成为奴隶，成为机器人儿啊。然后给了自由意志呢，就有可能会造成一些的悲剧。是这样的一个意思。Okay.
So this is where it gets really beautiful. They say to give us free will, there will be tragedy. There will be tragedy with imperfect beings running around doing whatever they want. But God has sent us the thought adjuster. He's calling it the perfect ancestral deity, all right, to universally and affectionately share these sufferings in loving companionship. So they're saying, you're going to make mistakes. You want to be a free person, you're imperfect, you're going to make mistakes, but I'll be there. I will go through every mistake, every tragedy with you in loving companionship. You won't go through it alone. I will hold your hand. I will have your back. I will prop you up. I will comfort you. I will guide you. And that's the beauty of this.
对，我们因为是不完美的造物，那么我们是会犯错误，但是呢，这个地方就说我们是主神的灵哈，主灵就是他，是跟我们一起经历这些的错误，这个握着我们的手，然后准备我们，然后安慰我们，然后指导我们经历这一切的苦难。
It says in the very beginning of this section on thought adjusters, it says there are no created beings that would not delight. We read this already. Not delight to be hosts to the mystery monitors, but no orders of beings are thus indwelt except evolutionary will creatures of finality destiny. So what that's saying is, everyone would love to have a thought adjuster, a fragment of God living with them 24/7, their whole life, every moment of every day. But we are the only ones, only evolutionary will creatures of finality or destiny. So only the mortal creatures who can fuse with the Father and become mortal finaliters. That's us. We are the lowest beings, but we have the greatest gift given to us. And we're the only ones, who get that.
我们虽然是最低的造物哈，凡人肉身的凡人最低的造物，但是因为有那个像调整者的赠予呢，我们到时候会 达到那个就终局者团队，就是跟神融合之后再继续这个达到那个永远的续存之后呢，达到终局者团队，这个是我们进化的比较最高的阶段嘛。那么相当于从最低到最高，这样有这样的一种荣耀的期许。
We read this before, but it's just so I'm looking for that thing, but I'm finding other things that are just so amazing. They're saying that thought adjusters are pre-personal and they don't have hold on one second. Have volition on all pre-personal. It's so confusing. It says we have often speculated that thought adjusters must have volition on all pre-personal levels of choice. God knows what that means.
Where are you? Are you reading something?
Yeah, but don't go there yet. Basically, it's too confusing because the whole idea that thought adjusters don't have free will, but they do have volition. But what they're saying here is that I'll just read it to you and you can just translate it however you want. They have affection for mortals. They function in universe crises. Now that's universe crises. Remember we were reading about that? They do other things besides just guide us?
Yeah.
And they are always waiting to, this is interesting, right? They are always waiting to act decisively in accordance with human choice. And all these are highly volitional reactions. So just what this is saying is just because they defer to our free will and never impose any kind of will on us, they do act with volition, with decision, with decisiveness. They make decisions all the time as long as it's in accordance with our choice.
这一段大概就说对那个像调整者是准人格的哈，他其实也有他自己的意志，他对我们这个凡人是怀着很深厚的爱，然后他在宇宙的危机当中呢，就是也是发挥他的作用。我们前面大概自我施工的调整者那个大概也提到，他除了就作为我们的像调整者在我们里边这个指导我们的人类决定之外，他在宇宙危机当中，他也独自也发挥他的作用，单独的他的使命。那么
It says, and I'm reading this now because we don't want to make the mistake of thinking that the thought adjusters are just passive, that we're making all the decisions, we're making all the mistakes, and they're just holding our hand and comforting us. There's so much more than that.
那么他就说这个，我也不能就是说认为就是思想调整，虽然他服从我们的意志，但是我也不能说他就是被动的只在我们犯错的时候，握着我们的手来安慰我们。那他也有他自己的意志力。
So they're saying in all situations not concerned with the domain of human will. So in any situation that does not involve our will, they unquestionably exhibit conduct which betokens the exercise of powers in every sense the equivalent of will, maximated. So as long as they're not putting their, forcing us to do things their way, as long as they're respecting our will, they do things that show that they make decisions and choices. They're constantly steering us, guiding us, helping us, planning our life with us. They don't impose their will on us, but they do operate in a way that that is very much as if they also have will. They just don't superimpose their will on our will.
What are you doing? Are you reading? Are you from?
Well, okay, it's hard. I'll tell you. 107, paper 107, 6.678. It's hard for me
这
to.
刚才读的那些是从107篇啊，第107篇的第6部分啊，对，哦，那我们已
So
经
it's
读过了，对，就是那个，他就说那个，到时候我们再回去看看吧。他就说那个我们在里边哈，就是他来指导我们，来帮我们规划啊，他是有他的意志力来这个帮助我们，但是他只是没有办法把他的意志强加到我们的身上，强逼迫我们，好像采取我们不想采取的方案。
Okay, because the whole term pre-personal, I'm always saying this every time we read about them. It's a very confusing, strange idea, and I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's the best they could come up with.
这个准人格这个 pre-personal 这个词呢，是他那个对他不认为这个是一个很准确的词，但是他当然也传达很多的意思，也只能用这个词。
It says here, remember, this is written by a solitary messenger, and he says, to our order of beings, these fragments of deity are known as the divine gifts.
对，就是单独使者他不写的这些的这些的关于思想调整者的篇章嘛，他就说对我们类别的那存有来说，这个思想调整者是一个神圣的礼物。
Okay, so now the section 1, Indwelling the Mortal Mind.
这个是第一部分叫住在凡人的心识里。
Adjusters should not be thought of as living in the material brains of human beings. They are not organic parts of the physical creatures of the. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I want to just make sure there wasn't something I want to say about the first part first. As far as I'm conversant, I regard the. Okay, so this, I just want to make a comment on the first, the paragraph we just read before I read the next one. It says, as far as I am conversant with the affairs, the regard of the thought is most truly divine in all creation. The love of the sons and their ministries is superb, but the devotion of the adjusters, father, like the paradise father has penalties over this form of personal contact. So all I'll say here is that they're saying that the love of a thought adjuster for a person like us is the most divine love they've ever seen anywhere in the universe.
对，这一段是说这个就是那个思想调整对个体的爱是非常的神圣的，在宇宙当中。
And also we've noticed and we've talked about before that the God the Father is like a really, really great CEO, chief executive officer. He does what the best CEOs do. He delegates. Anything that someone else below him can do, he lets them do. He only does himself the things that only he can do. Everything else he delegates.
这个天赋呢是一个非常那个最优秀的主管，那么他只要他的手下能做的事情，他就让手下人去分配其他人去做，只有其他人做不了，他才亲力亲为。
But this is one of those things, the relationship of this divine gift, our thought adjuster, with a mortal. It says this, and we just read, the Paradise Father has apparently reserved this form of personal contact with his individual creatures as an exclusive creator prerogative, right towards the end of the paragraph. And there is nothing in all the universes comparable to the marvelous ministry, so to the children of the evolutionary worlds. So this is one of those few things that he cannot or he has not delegated to anyone. Only God can give this intense, particular, and most amazing type of love to his mortal creatures. No, even the eternal Son, even the creator sons, even the infinite spirit, they can't have this exact quality of love. They have, the creator sons love us unbelievably, but this is unique to God.
对，那么就是分赐他的这个一部分到他的凡人造物当中，这个就是天赋的，就是特别的一个礼物，表达他就是强烈的令人惊异的这种的爱和恩典。那么这个都是他的造物之子啦，还是无限之灵啊，都没有办法做的。那么只有他能这么做的，所以就是这序言的第二部分就表达这样的意思。
Okay, so now we're going to read the Indwelling the Mortal Mind part. You can say that.
对，下一部分就是第一部分是住在凡人的心识里。
Adjusters should not be thought of as living in the material brains of human beings. They are not organic parts of the physical creatures of the realms. The thought adjuster may more properly be envisaged as indwelling the mortal mind of man rather than as existing within the confines of a single physical organ. And indirectly and unrecognized, the adjuster is constantly communicating with the human subject, especially during those sublime experiences of the worshipful contact of mind with spirit in the superconsciousness. Take it away, Shenli.
真理，第一段。
住在凡人的心识里，不应把调整者想作是生活在人类的物质大脑中，他们不是物质生物领域的有机组成部分。把思想调整者想象成存在于人类的凡人心识中，而不是存在于一个单一的物理器官的范围之内，这可能更恰当。而且未被认识的调整者一直在间接地与人类主体持续交流着，特别是在超意识中那些心识与灵性的崇高交流的庄严体验中。
Okay, hold on. So it says two things. One is that the thought adjuster is not a physical thing. So it's not like it's not like a scientist could look into our brain and see some kind of cellular activity or chemical activity and there's the thought adjuster. He's not on the physical realm. So he's not actually living in our brain like some kind of energy system.
对，第一个他说第一段说了两个方面的意思，第一方面呢，就是它不是物质的，不是科学家的所能描述发现的住在这个细胞里啊，或者化学的结构里啊， 这些的物理的那个领域当中，或者这种的能量当中。
But he does indwell the mind. Somehow he's, you know, he's sort of like I would say he's like a spiritual counterpart to our mind. He's associated with our mind in a spiritual sense. He's very much at all times, all the time, with associated with our mind.
对，它住在我们的心识当中，相当于是灵性的这个对应物啊，是我们住在我们作为灵性的对应物，住在我们的心识当中。
So they're saying the thought adjuster may more properly be envisaged as indwelling the mortal mind of man rather than as existing within the confines of a single physical organ. So that means that they're not thinking of our mind as the same thing as our brain. That's what we're trying to say. And as we learn more in science, we're finding out that our hearts think, that different parts of our body can think. Like our mind is not just limited to our brain. Our mind is sort of a more of a holistic thing, I think.
对，他就说那个心识不光就是或者是像调整，它不光是住在大脑里边。从科学的角度来讲，这个就是心识相当于更是一个整体性的一个概念，不是住在一个特别的物理器官中。
So, and this is the part that I just love, the last sentence. And indirectly and unrecognized, the adjuster is constantly communicating with the human subject, especially during those sublime experiences of the worshipful contact of mind with spirit in the superconsciousness. But we'll divide that in two. So the first part is, even though we don't recognize it and it's indirect, it's not, so direct that we can hear every word, the adjuster is constantly communicating with the human subject. And I think that means day and night, in our sleep and in our wakeful hours, like all the time, he's sending us messages. He's communicating in one way or another all the time.
他就说这个跟摄像调人跟我们交流，他不是说直接的你听到什么什么说话或者怎么样，他是就是更多的像是非直接性的，就是间接的。那么就是不管日夜啊，你醒着睡着呀，他是持续性的在跟你交流。
So we should know that everything we experience, we're experiencing when we enjoy a sun, our thought adjuster. When we're patting a dog or playing with a dog, we're playing with the dog with our thought adjuster. When we're enjoying a good meal, we're enjoying that meal with our thought adjuster.
对，他就是参与我们所有的经验。那么你确实很跟拍拍狗啊，或者是就是享受你的美食啊，那么像调整者跟你一起经历这些经验。
But then it says, especially during those experiences of worshipful contact of mind with spirit in the superconsciousness. So when they say, I think this, they're saying they're especially communicating with us when our mind is in worshipful contact with spirit in the superconsciousness. But I think what that means is that we have a subconscious, a conscious, and a superconscious, right? Subconscious, we know what that is from, Freud and Jung and psychology. It's consciousness is our everyday consciousness. Superconsciousness is our soul reality and spirit reality. It's when we transcend our regular consciousness.
对，那就说我们意识有3个层次嘛，至少就是表层意识的层次啊，潜意识的层次啊，然后超意识的层次啊。那个，表层意识的层次的心理学有可能涉及到，潜意识的也是心理学有可能涉及，但是超意识的部分就是灵魂层面的、灵性的、超越的，那种的体验。
So I think that means when we're in a worshipful contact I think could be a few different things. I don't think there's just one way to worship. I think it just means there's a kind of communion or realization or appreciation or gratitude or it just goes a little beyond prayer. A prayer can be a petition. You can just say, dear God, please help me get well from this illness. That can be a prayer. Worship is beyond just asking for something or just but I don't think worship is one thing. I think it can be I think there's a wide range of activities that could be in the worship category.
对，他这个地方知道就是说到崇拜式的接触哈，庄严体验，崇高的一种交流，这种交流就是说跟神同在，那个表达一种感恩啊，然后不光就是包含祷告，比祷告可能更宽的领域，因为祷告有的时候只是你就是单方面的，就是向神求什么。对，还不光是就是说不能表达这种崇拜，就是这种庄严体验，对，那更是一种同在与神与你的灵性同在的一种庄严体验。
I think, now the book doesn't say this, but I think that whenever your mind is connecting to either your thought adjuster or God or your guardian angel or the Holy Spirit or the infinite spirit or Jesus, any spiritual reality, I mean like a spiritual entity, anything that's connected to God or high spiritual reality, I think that then you go into the worship mode.
对，你跟这个那个就是护卫天使啊，或者跟圣子啊、圣灵啊，就这些比较这些灵性存有，只要都是能跟神链接的这些灵性存有，那个一起这些交流都可以算作是在这个灵性实相当中啊，这种崇拜式的接触。
It's like so it's saying that when your mind has contact with this with spirit, whether that's God or your thought adjuster, which is also God, right? They're just two different aspects of God, or Jesus or anything. Then that's when your thought adjuster has the most communication with you.
I kind of absent-minded. What did you say?
Well, it's the second part of the last sentence. It says, and directly, the gesture is constantly communicating with you, especially during those sublime experiences of the worshipful contact of mind with spirit and the super consciousness. So it's always communicating with you, especially when you're in that worship mode, when you're using your super conscious, when you're going to that spiritual place in your mind.
对，他就是相当最后一句，就是说，当然他持续跟我们交流，但是在这种更高层次的这种灵性的体验当中，他就是，对，就是更能显示，更能直接的与那个人类主体进行交流。
Yeah, I just found it in the table of contents. I had it mixed up. I thought it was adjuster, changer, controller, but it says here they call it the thought changer until the age of 20. So that's, that's when you're young. Then they call it the thought adjuster when you are age 20 to 40. So that's sort of when you're an adult. So it's like when you're a child, it's the thought changer, a thought adjuster when you're adult, and then thought controller after 40.
对，他是说这个思想调整者在人类的某一个人生当中的不同的阶段叫不同的名字。那么20岁之前呢，他叫思想改变者啊 ，thought changer。20到40岁就中间的这个成人期呢，叫思想调整者。然后40岁以后呢，叫思想控制者啊 ，thought controller。就是基于他思想调整在我们人的就是心识当中的作用的重点啊，然后叫不同的名字。
So they, I mean, you could say when you're young, they're trying to change your thoughts, and during your young adult life, they're trying to adjust your thoughts, and then during your older adult life, they are actually controlling your thoughts. But I think that's because at that point, if you're a spiritual person, many people have decided to do God's will. So you're giving control to the thought adjusters. They're obviously not controlling a lot of evil people, right? So I think the thought controllers, that's what this is my interpretation. Do you see what I'm saying?
哎呀，就说大概是对思想调整者，只是在我们年轻的时候，大概就是参与，就是塑造我们的人生观吧。然后中年的时候呢，是一个一个调整的阶段，因为20岁的时候有可能有一些东西已经成型了，但是呢，这个时候思想调整可能就是说会起一个调整的作用。然后到后期了之后呢，可能我们更多的人在生活历练当中，大概就是学习更多的臣服吧，大概就是给思想调整者更多的控制的力度，所以就是最后那个人生的阶段叫思想调整者被称为思想控制者。
So we can learn to monitor our thoughts, and then we'll be able to see which thoughts are in alignment with God and which thoughts aren't in alignment, and we can just ignore the ones that aren't, and then that way we're helping our thought adjuster.
对，我们可以学习观察和监督我们的想法，看看哪些想法是跟思想调整者是那个他的意愿，就是神的意愿是一致的啊。有这样的一种审查，我们更能够把思想调整者的意愿活出来。
Okay, next paragraph.
Sorry, Heidi.
Yeah.
Why here is indirect communication?
Because like right now, you and I are having direct communication. I hear you, you hear me, it's direct. Indirect because we don't really, it's really on a spiritual level. We're not hearing the voice like a physical thing, right? So I think you're right. I think indirect is not really the right word for them to use. I hate to keep criticizing these, godlike beings.
It is indirect. Like, before we read about that he might use dream, he want to convey messages to us through dreams. And this is an indirect venue, right?
That's one, but it's saying he's communicating with us all the time. I think he's using direct and indirect communication, but I think in this context they mean indirect because it's not like he calls you on the phone or he sends you a letter or you hear his voice in the physical world. I think they mean indirect because it's a different channel. I think that's what they mean.
他这里边是说就是间接的，最后一句说间接的是，因为他不是说直接的啊，有一个声音跟你讲话呀，然后直接的跟你交流啊，他 而是采用不同的渠道跟你交流。它这个间接指的是这种意思。
But I think that's a really, really good question.
是很好的问题。
Because I do think that they are in many ways communicating directly to us.
对，他认为这很多时候像调整跟我们直接的交流。
But maybe using an indirect channel to do it.
但是用间接的方式，那个渠道来跟我们讲话。
Okay. I'm reading the next paragraph. I wish it were possible for me to help evolving mortals. So this is our solitary messenger friend talking to us. I wish it were possible for me to help evolving mortals to achieve a better understanding and attain a fuller appreciation of the unselfish and superb work of the adjusters living within them, who are so devoutly faithful to the task of fostering man's spiritual welfare. These monitors are efficient ministers to the higher phases of men's minds. They are wise and experienced manipulators of the spiritual potential of the human intellect. These heavenly helpers are dedicated to the stupendous task of guiding you safely inward and upward to the celestial haven of happiness. These tireless toilers are consecrated to the future personification of the triumph of divine truth in your life everlasting. They are the watchful workers who pilot the God-conscious human mind away from the shoals of evil, while expertly guiding the evolving soul of man toward the divine harbors of perfection on far eternal shores. The adjusters are loving leaders, your safe and sure guides through the dark and uncertain mazes of your short earthly career. They are the patient teachers who so constantly urge their subjects forward in the paths of progressive perfection. They are the careful custodians of the sublime values of creature character. I wish you could love them more, cooperate with them more fully, and cherish them more affectionately. Okay, Shenli.
Yeah. 放到开头好吗？七七。我希望我能够帮助进化中的凡人更好地理解、更充分地欣赏生活在他们之中的调整者的无私和卓。他们是如此虔诚地忠实于培养人类灵性福祉的任务。这些告诫者是高级阶段的人类心智的高效的神职主管。他们是人类智性的灵性潜力的聪慧的和经验丰富的操纵者。这些天堂般的帮助者致力于这样的艰巨任务，那就是引导你安全地向内向上，到达天堂般的幸福港湾。这些不知疲倦的劳动者被奉为神性真理在你永恒生命中胜利的化身。他们是警醒的工作者，引导有神之意识的人类心识远离邪恶的浅滩，同时熟练地引导人类进化中的灵魂走向遥远而永恒的海岸上完美的神性港湾。调整者是慈爱的领导者，是你们完全而确定的引导者。 他们带领你们穿过你们短暂的人间生涯中黑暗而不确定的迷宫。他们是如此有耐心的老师，不断地督促他们的学生在逐步完善的道路上前进。他们是对生物特性所具崇高价值的细致守护者。我希望你们能更爱他们，更充分地与他们合作，更深情地珍惜他们。
Okay. Okay, so do you in literature, in writing, also in speaking, there's a thing called alliteration. And do you know what alliteration is, Ricky, by any chance?
Alliteration.
It's when alliteration is a word trick, sort of, where you use 2 or 3 words that start with the same letter. And by doing that, it has a little more force, a little more, it's almost a little more poetical, right? There's a lot of alliteration in this paragraph, right? Now I don't know if they kept the alliteration in the Chinese translation, but here they go, okay, I'm reading.
它就是这里边大概很多排比句那个意思，就是非常富有诗意的语言，就是用的英文当中的非常诗意的语言。他说这个中文当中有可能不一定反映得出来啊。这一段是写的很美。Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so they say they guide you to the haven of happiness. So it's HH, haven of happiness. So it has a certain ring to it, right? And then they say these tireless toilers, TT. This is a speaking writing technique to the future persona of divine. They are the watchful workers, WW, who pilot the God conscious shoals of evil, execute the divine harbors. The adjusters are loving leaders. See, they're doing this on purpose. You're safe and
Yeah, 就是它是英文当中有一种的这个写作的方法，就是用开始的那个字母是同一个字母，对，然后这样排比，它那个排比不是我们那个排比，对，它就是比如说像 Haven of Happiness 啊 ，Tireless Toiler 啦，什么 Wise Worker 啊 ，Loving Leader 啊，对，就是比较诗意化的在英文当中这样表达一种诗意化的东西。
The paths of progressive perfection, PPP.
Past progressive perfection.
They're the patient teachers who so constantly urge their subjects forward in the paths of progressive perfection.
As the progressive perfection. 对 PPP 对也是这样类似的这种排比。
They are the careful custodians, CC.
Carefully custodian CC 也是一个排比。
So when you translate that into Chinese, are they keeping the alliteration?
No.
Okay, so good. It's good I pointed it out then. So it's when you use alliteration, it's so hard to explain, but it's how let me just it has a certain ring to it. It's easier to remember. It has a kind of a little more beauty and elegance to it.
对，他说这种写法呢，就是比较容易去记得哈，像顺口溜一样的，然后增加了语言的那种美感。是。 Yeah,
So
I thought I found another one, creature character.
wait, what's that? What is that?
Creature character, the second last line in this paragraph. Isn't it also a alliteration?
Creature, the savant of the creature character. Yeah. And
Creature character.
and I mean, sometimes, I mean, I pointed them all out. Sometimes it just happens to be that way, right? But it's especially when you're describing something. Yes, but no, but they're using it. They're doing it he's doing it so many times in this paragraph that it's not just chance, because you do it all the time without thinking. Two words just have the same letter, but this is obviously intentional because it's too many times.
当然有一些这种词句呢是就正好就是碰巧就是从同一个字母开头，但是这一段当中出现这么多，那肯定是有意为之的，不是就是碰巧的。
Heavenly helpers, haven of happiness, tireless toilers, watchful workers. It's just too many times.
Watchful worker, yeah, it's too many times， 很多次，
Yeah.
绝对不是偶然。
But it's nice. It's a nice touch.
对，他说这个用的很不错的。
So what he's saying, it's a little bit sad because he's saying, I wish it were possible for me to help evolving more. This is the first line. The help to achieve a better understanding and attain a fuller appreciation of the unselfish and superb work the adjusters do for you. He starts off with, I wish you could achieve a better understanding and a greater appreciation. And he ends this paragraph with, I wish you could love them more, cooperate with them more fully, and cherish them more affectionately. So this whole paragraph is trying to help us appreciate what we have, love them, work with them, realize that this is the greatest gift in all the universe that we have already been given.
对，他这一段相当于就是单独使者是那作者嘛，他就是提醒我们这些凡人，进化中的凡人啊，能够更好的珍赏我们是热爱哈，不跟我们那里的思想调整者合作，就是意识到我们得到了这么特别的礼物。
It's like if you've ever seen a little child. You don't celebrate Christmas in China, do you?
No.
No, but you all know about it, right?
People know about that.
Yeah, they know the Christmas tree and the presents and Santa Claus and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
提到那中国人是不是庆祝圣诞节呀？不知道什么圣诞树啊、圣诞老人之类的。我说我们不庆祝，但是我们知道这些东西。
It's like seeing a little child on Christmas Day with this beautiful tree and this beautiful house, and he's opening 20 presents just for him. And then the kid goes, hey, how come I didn't get this or that? That's kind of, I think, how this solitary messenger feels, of like, you don't appreciate what you have, what you've been given.
那小孩最高兴的就是圣诞夜啊，能够拿到礼物啊，就圣诞节那天，哎，看到树下那个树那么美丽，闪耀，然后树下有20个礼物，都是为他的。那么这个地方，单独使者就提醒我们，我们得到了这样的宝贵的宇宙的礼物。
But he's not blaming us, because he says, I wish I could help you achieve a better understanding, and attain a fuller appreciation. So he realizes that he's not really blaming us. He's saying it's too bad. It's really, really, he really wishes we could appreciate them more, but he's not completely blaming us. He also wishes he could help us attain a fuller appreciation. But guess what? That's what he's doing right now, right here.
对，他也并没有责备我们，就是不珍赏这么珍贵的宇宙的礼物，但是他只是希望能够帮助我们更好的理解，加深这种的珍赏。对，他正在这么做。
And I think in this paragraph, he's also telling us the monitors, these monitors are efficient ministers to our mind. They are wise manipulators. They are dedicated to these tasks of God. What the other thing, and that's all I'll say about this paragraph. The last thing I'll say is what he's saying is they're not just trying, they're making progress. They are achieving their goals in many, on all of us. We are better off with them than we would be without them. They are doing their job. We just don't recognize it.
对，就是在这些，就是这告诫者是高级阶段的人类心智的高效的神职主管，是人类智性的灵性潜力的聪慧和经验丰富的操纵者，他是帮助我们，那个进步的。虽然我们不一定意识到他们，但是我们实在是有他们比没有他们要好得多。
Well, okay, I lied. I'm going to say one more thing. This sentence is really important because they say they are the watchful workers who pilot the God-conscious human mind away from the shoals of evil while expertly guiding and evolving the soul of man toward the divine harbors of perfection. Okay, but notice who pilot the God-conscious human mind. So that's the key. Here's the key. If you are purposefully and intentionally, if you choose to be God conscious, then the thought adjuster will pilot your mind away from the shoals of evil. You don't have to be afraid of evil if you're God conscious. That's what this is saying. You can leave it to them. They will steer you away from evil and towards the good, but you have to be God conscious for them to do that.
对，你必须要，就是他那一句说，他们是警醒的工作者，引导有神之意识的人类心识远离邪恶的浅滩。那么他就像是一个像的导航员一样的啊，那就是在我们有神的意识的情况下呢，他就会帮助我们，就这个航船一样，就是相当于远离这个危险，远离这些暗礁啊，能够保证我们的安全。有点像 GPS 一样。
It says they are loving leaders, your safe and sure guides through the dark and uncertain mazes of your short earthly career. So through the dark and uncertain mazes, we all go through dark and uncertain mazes. What we usually don't realize or know or remember, if we do know, is that they're going through it with us. We just have to let them help us through the hard times. They will help us.
对，那么在下面的就说他是慈爱的领导者呀，安全和确定的引导者呀，带领也是还是有耐心的老师啊，对，就是只要我们让他允许他帮助我们，他是一定会帮助我们的。
Okay, I'm reading the next paragraph. Although the divine indwellers, see, here's another, they have so many names for them, right? Here they're calling them the divine indwellers, right? You can mention that.
你看它这个地方又是就是110.1.3嘛，第3段它就是这个 divine indweller 神圣内在者、内住者啊，这又是其实也是指的思想调整者。
So Although the divine indwellers are chiefly concerned with your spiritual preparation for the next stage of the never-ending existence, they are also deeply interested in your temporal welfare and in your real achievements on earth. They are delighted to contribute to your health, happiness, and true prosperity. They are not indifferent to your success in all matters of planetary advancement, which are not inimical to your future life of eternal progress.
第三段。
虽然神性内住者主要关心的是你们为永无止境的存在的下一阶段所做的灵性准备，但他们对你们的世俗福祉和你们在地球上的真正成就深感兴趣。他们乐于为你们的健康、幸福和真正的丰盛做出贡献。你们在所有行星进步事务中的成功，只要不妨碍你们永恒进步的未来生活，他们就不会忽视。
So this is interesting because you know, I've said many times that the adjusters are preparing us for the next life, for the Morancha worlds, for the next stage of existence. That's what it says here. So that's their main focus, but they are also very, you know, helping us every day with this life as well. That's what this is saying.
对，那像调整者主要的使命就是相当于培养我们进入到灵智起的那个下一个人生。但是这一段也告诉我们，它其实也帮助我们这一生。
It's like their main concern. It says their chief concern with your preparation for the next stage. That's their chief concern. I would say that's their main goal, but they are deeply interested in your temporal welfare, your achievements on earth. They are delighted to contribute to your health, happiness, and true prosperity. It's not like they don't care about your success here on earth. As long as what you're doing is not inimical to your future life of eternal progress, which means it's not going against it, it's not hurting it. So their main goal is your future life, but anything you're doing here that's not getting in the way of that future potential, they are happy to help you with.
对，它也帮助你在这个现实生活当中的福祉，但就是说，只要这些的事物不妨碍我们为就是永恒进步的未来生活，不妨碍那就是下意识的那个灵性进步，那么它就是会帮助你们在这个凡人生活当中的一些成功。
I mean, this life is like, you know, it's like a testing ground. Our main purpose on this life is to make it to the next life.
就是我们这一世的主要的生活的目的，其实都是为了下一世做准备的。
It's so easy. You know, once we're in the Morancha worlds, our chances of fusing with our adjuster and making it to eternity are much greater once we make it to that world. Here, we're like in the middle of an ocean in a storm. Our chances aren't so good. It's very easy not to make it. So that's why a lot of effort has to be used just to stay on course, to stay on the right track, to stay on the right path. Because if we go off on the wrong path, our adjuster's not going to help us on that path. He's going to help us if we stay on the right path. And he's going to help us to make choices to stay on the right. I mean, if we're on the wrong path and we say, oh my God, I'm on the wrong path, I need to get back on the right path, he'll help us then.
那么， 对，当然就是达到永久续存嘛，是我主要的目的。那我们在这肉身的生活当中，就像这个在一个汪洋大海当中、风暴当中，那么有可能我们根本没有办法到岸的。对，但是所以思想调整就是相当于协助我们，努力能够在正确的航道上面，采取正确的就是路径。如果我们走错路了，然后呢，我们还是希望回到正确的路上，它也会帮助我们。
It's easy to get lost here. It's so easy to go astray. It's so easy to choose the material in a material world over you can love material things, but you can't worship them. You have to save your worship for God.
这个物质世界当中这么容易走迷，那个我们很容易就是说，热爱物质世界，然后热爱物质的东西，并且崇拜这些物质的东西。
You go to a museum and you see, millions and millions of dollars worth of the most beautiful things in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. That is good. It can even be soulful and spiritual. There's nothing wrong with material things, but people make the mistake when they start worshiping money instead of God.
你热爱没有问题，但是你不要崇拜它。那么，比如说你进一个博物馆啊、美术馆啊，那么可能热爱那些的艺术作品哈，有可能是很贵重的那些东西啊，甚至有一些东西也是反映灵性的主题的，对。但是呢，你可以热爱它，就比如说金钱世界上的这物质的丰盛。你可以热爱它，但是你不要崇拜它。
So that's why the Urantia book says that they're not trying to make our life here easy. That's not their purpose. That our angels, our thought adjusters, all that, they're not trying to make our life easy, because an easy life will not help us to be strong enough to make the tough decisions, the good decisions, the godly decisions.
对，那前面我们也读到，思想调整者哈，他的任务不是说为了让我们在这个属世生活当中生活很容易啊，让我们生活变得容易，他只是就是说希望我们能够创造出一些的情境，能够使我们变得更强壮，并且在这些情境和很困难的决定面前，选择就是做神的意志的决定。
So people get mixed up. They confuse easy with happy. We can be happy, and they want us to be happy. They will help us to be happy, but that doesn't mean it's supposed to be easy.
对。那么我们经常混淆就是容易和幸福。那么它是会帮助我们协助我们那个过幸福的生活，但并不意味着这一定是一个容易的路、容易的生活。
Okay, I'm reading the next paragraph. Adjusters are interested in and concerned with your daily doings and the manifold details of your life, just to the extent that these are influential in the determination of your significant temporal meaning earthly, right, choices and vital spiritual decisions, and hence are factors in the solution of your problem of soul survival and eternal progress. The adjuster, while passive regarding purely temporal welfare, is divinely active concerning all the affairs of your eternal future. And I'll read the next paragraph too. The adjuster remains with you in all disaster and through every sickness, which does not wholly destroy the mentality. But how unkind, knowingly defile or otherwise deliberately to pollute the physical body, which must serve as the earthly tabernacle of this marvelous gift from God. All physical poisons greatly retard the efforts of the adjuster to exalt the material mind, while the mental poisons of fear, anger, envy, jealousy, suspicion, and intolerance likewise tremendously interfere with the spiritual progress of the evolving soul. Shenley, it's all yours.
调整者对你的日常行为和生活中的各种细节的兴趣与关心，只到这样一个程度，那就是如果这些细节影响着你对重大世间选择和至关重要的灵性决定的决心，因此也是解决你灵魂续存和永恒进步问题的因素。调整者，他们虽然对纯粹世间的福祉是被动的，但是对于关乎你永恒未来的所有事物是神性主动的。在一切灾难中，在一切没有完全摧毁心智的疾病中，调整者都与你同在。但是故意玷污或以其他形式故意污染身体是多么的不仁慈！身体必须作为神的奇妙礼物的世间圣堂。所有的身体毒素都极大地阻碍了调整者提升物质心识的努力，而恐惧、愤怒、羡慕、嫉妒、怀疑和偏执等心理毒素同样极大地干扰了进化中灵魂的灵性进程。Okay,
thanks. So they're saying, your day-to-day activities, the adjuster's not, they're passive. They're not interfering. Like if you don't know whether to eat an apple or an orange for breakfast, your adjuster doesn't care which one. Don't say, oh God, should I have an apple or an orange? They don't care. Have whatever you want.
对，他就说那个实际上那个像调整者对我们生活的细节的那些的世俗的，那个兴趣其实兴味索然，并不那么关心。你不能问神说啊，我要吃一个苹果还是吃一个橙子啊？那他根本不关心这个事情。
But anything that you're doing that might concern your future or your path to your future, that's when they start really getting more active.
那么，但是对那些可以关乎你的续存的哈，那些重大的时间的选择，那么他们是主动的关心。
So he's our adjusters are very active concerning our future careers. They are, this is so important to know because I forget this too. They're not just sitting there, oh, Heidi, let me know if you need anything. It's not like that. They're working for your behalf all the time, but concerning your future career, concerning your eternal destiny.
对，那他就是一个像调整者，是积极的参与一切就是关乎我们未来生涯的事物。那他不是说坐在那儿说啊，海底，你这是让我知道你如果需要我帮助，他是积极的参与的这些关乎我们的这个就是定命的一些的事情。
The only as long as we have our mental capacity as long as we're sane, or our brain is working well enough, or we're sane enough to use our free will, our adjuster's working with us. If we ever get to the point where we're brain dead or some brain damage to the point where we can't really use our free will anymore, then the adjuster goes back to Divinington.
那个就是在一切我们没有失去神智的情况下，哈，我们有可能还能利用我们的自由意志的时候，没有那些什么脑部的损伤造成我们没有办法自主哈，这种情况下，都是这个像常常都是跟我们工作的。如果我们脑死亡了，或者就是损伤的太严重了，那就思想调整就回到神之圣都了，他没有办法跟我们一起工作，他就是离开了。
So the adjuster's with us through every sickness, every illness, and every disaster. Our adjuster's right there with us.
对，那么在我们的疾病啊，这个灾难当中啊的这个神的片段啊，思想调整都与我们同在。
Okay, so then they say, but then they just say when you pollute the physical body, the adjuster is residing in your physical body. He is communicating through your mind, and our minds are like, they really are physical on this planet. They, because like we get a Marancha mind on the Marancha world, so our human mind is like a physical thing, and I mean, there's the brain, but there's also the mind circuits that the adjuster's working with. But we really make it difficult for them when we poison ourselves with physical poisons, alcohol, drugs, all these things that, bad food, we really make it hard for them when we fill ourselves with poisons.
对，那么物质的心识啊，那个心识回路啊，它是通过这些的跟我们交流啊。那如果我们用那些毒药，包括酒精啊那些毒品啊，来就是削弱了甚至阻碍了我们的心识的正常的工作，或者是那吃不太好的食物啊，都可能会阻止那个心识的正常的运作。那么像调整人就没有办法有效的指导我们。
And that could also be abusing ourselves by not getting enough sleep, or working too hard, or never exercise. The healthier we are, the easier it is for them to work with us.
包括就是不爱惜身体啊，就是过劳啊，或者是运动不够啊，也都会影响这个跟我们工作的效率，思想调整者。
And then they say just as difficult as it is to work with us when we're full of physical poisons, when we're full of mental poison, it is they also tremendously interfere with the spiritual progress of our soul. So when the thought adjuster is working with us, when it's working with our mind, as that is happening, our soul is developing and evolving. So that's just happening. It's like our thought adjuster and our mind are in a marriage, and our soul is their child. They've had a child together, and it's our soul, and they're bringing up this child together. And the more they work together, the more the soul grows. And they're saying it's difficult for the soul to grow when we're filling our mind with mental poisons like fear, anger, envy, jealousy, suspicion, and intolerance. I would also add anxiety, which I added by mistake because I sometimes have some. And so those mental poisons make it just as difficult as the physical poisons.
就是我们的心识跟思想调整者就像一个婚姻一样的，他们两个共同的孕育这个我们的灵魂啊，我们的灵魂就像我们的孩子 哈，就是这两者结婚生下的孩子一样，他们就是要共同的工作，然后这个孩子就长大嘛，我们的 soul，我们的灵魂就长大嘛，就会成长嘛。那不光是身体的毒素，那心理的毒素，像恐惧啊、愤怒啊、羡慕、嫉妒、怀疑、偏执这些，还有焦虑啊，这些的都是心理毒素，这也会极大的干扰这个向调整跟我们的心识来进行工作，来帮助我们的灵魂成长。
Like, you can think back to when you were much younger and you might have done things and you look back and you're ashamed. You wouldn't do that now. It's so rude to someone or inconsiderate, or maybe you used to steal, or maybe you had an affair with a married man, or maybe you used to say mean things to people without even thinking, whatever it could be. But these are things you would not do now. You just wouldn't do them because you're a better person. Well, that's because your soul is more developed.
对，那么你随着你的灵魂的成长，你会就是摒弃好多的，你原来做的不良的事情，成为一个更好的人。
We're as we get older, we can use our soul. We can think with our soul more and more as our soul gets more and more developed. We don't have to just think with our mind. When we're young, we don't have a very developed soul. We have instincts. We have a thought adjuster. We can have a big heart. We can transcend our mind and do the right thing, and we have gut feelings. But as we're older, we start getting a fully developed soul that can really help us make decisions and really shape our personality. Shape our character.
他说，随着年龄增长呢，我们就更多的是用我们的灵魂在思考，就是因为我们的灵魂吧，就是更成长了，更发育的更成熟了。那年轻的时候，我们可能是有一定的直觉啊，有但是就是随着年龄增，我们就会更主动的，就是让思想调整者来帮我们做决定和就是提高我们的品质。人格。
So it's not, if you feel fear, you can often play the what if game, or if there are ways to mitigate that fear. You can often rise above it and think, wait a minute, what am I afraid of? What's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? And there are many ways to help you over. It's easy to say, it's easy to just say, oh, stop feeling fear, anger, envy, jealousy, suspicion, and intolerance. But you can slowly, you can use tricks and tools to help get over all of these things.
对，就是你更审慎的一种思考的方式当中，就是你主动的去寻找，就是解决问题的更替代的方案，就是更冷静的去找到这个出路，用一些的工具。
And a little bit of fear is good. It can save your life. A little bit of anger is good. Sometimes you can have righteous anger, and it's healthy to have a little anger. Envy is really never very healthy, and jealousy. Suspicion can be a little bit good. Sometimes you should be suspicious. There are a lot of bad people trying to do bad things, so you have to put it all in balance.
这些的词，你看这个恐惧啊、愤怒啊，你有的时候你是需要有一些的这些的，那个羡慕、嫉妒不必要，然后呢，怀疑有的时候你也是要保留一部分怀疑的，因为的确有一些的居心不良的人是会让人上当受骗的，也不能一点怀疑都没有。
I usually find that the answer to absolutely every problem on earth is to have more faith.
他认为解决人世间很多的问题的一个根本的一个解决方案就是有信仰，有信念。
So like, let's take envy, for example. Someone gets something you always wanted and they have it, and you look at them and you wish you had it and you're envious because they have something you always wanted and you never got. Well, where's your faith? If your faith is strong, you'll know that you're going to get everything you desire in time, and that you're on the right path, and that's their path to get that thing now. You might grow more and become a better person by not having that thing. So you can use your faith to get over things like envy and jealousy.
对，他就说那个我们什么要有信仰，就是比如说你羡慕嫉妒哈，别人有你所想要的，但是还没有的。如果你是一个有信仰的人，那么你就知道神就是会满足你一切的愿望，就是在合适的时间。那么只是他们现在有是他们的道路，那你随着你成长的更多，你就知道，就是说那个，你也许就对那个每个人的道路都是不同的，他是这个意思。神总是会给你在合适的时间，就是给你所想要的，所以不要羡慕别人。
Sometimes you might be envious of someone who is actually envious of you.
对啊，那你有可能羡慕嫉妒的人，有可能也羡慕嫉妒你呢。
It's just so the moment you switch gears, when you're feeling envious or jealous or angry, or I mean these other things you can work with differently, but let's just say those two, jealous or envious. The moment you switch gear and say, okay, let me look at this differently. The moment you do that, now your thought adjuster kicks in and starts helping you. When you're filled with anger, he can't help you. I mean, jealousy, he can't help you. The moment you say, wait a minute, let me look at this differently. Why am I feeling jealous? Then he kicks in and he will help you to look at it more clearly.
对，当你就是换挡了以后啊，哈，那个是采取不同的想法呢。那个，当你就是说嫉妒、羡慕升起来的时候，你说，哎，等一会儿，为什么要羡慕？为什么要嫉妒？就是你给自己这样一个换挡的一个机会的时候，那个像调整者就可以进来工作了。
And that's because being filled with envy is not going to help you get to the next life. But learning how to overcome emotions and animal fears and silly, petty thoughts, learning how to overcome those things and think in a more spiritual way, that is going to help you get to the next world.
对，因为你羡慕、嫉妒啊，甚至愤怒啊，充满这些的不良的情绪，动物的恐惧啦，或者是那个集中在那些比较愚蠢的小事儿上面啊，不会帮助你的灵性成长，不会帮助你下意识的续存。
So the next paragraph, today you are passing through the period of the courtship. Oh, did I read that already?
No.
Okay. Today you are passing through the period of the courtship of your adjuster. And if you only prove faithful to the trust reposed in you by the divine spirit who seeks your mind and soul in eternal union. Oh, okay. So I did mean, I read this ahead. So everyone here should know by now, I hope, that the whole purpose of having a thought adjuster is to fuse with it. At some point in the next worlds, we fuse, we become one with that adjuster. So this next paragraph is talking about the fusion that's going to take place. And here they call it the divine spirit, right? There's yet another word that it has so many names.
对，下一段当中出现的这个 divine spirit 神圣的灵性哈，神圣之灵，也是指的思想调整者。那这一段讲的是跟思想调整者融合以后的情形。
So our adjuster's job in this life is to get us ready for the next life so that we can fuse, so that at some point in the next phase of existence, we can fuse and become one with that adjuster.
对，那么这一世的他这个思想调整者跟我们在一起的任务就是帮助我们跟他融合，达到续存，永久续存。
The adjuster does make a plan for us for this life. There is a plan, but if we go off script, if we make different choices, that's okay. They don't really care if we have 1 kid or 6 kids. If we end up being the president of a company or working in Walmarts, they don't really care that much about those things. What they care is what kind of person we are, what kind of choices we make.
那思想调整者其实不，他是对我们有一个计划的，但是呢，在我们具体生活的不同的选择当中，他也不 care 我们是做经理啊，还是做这个沃尔玛超市的一般的工作人员，就是说关心我们更大的一种决定，生活决定。
Today, you are passing through the period of the courtship of your adjuster. And if you only prove faithful to the trust reposed in you by the divine spirit who seeks your mind and soul in eternal union, there will eventually ensue that Marancha oneness, that supernal harmony, that cosmic coordination, that divine attunement, that celestial fusion, that never-ending blending of identity, that oneness of being, which is so perfect and final that even the most experienced personalities can never segregate or recognize as separate identities the fusion partners, the mortal man and divine adjuster. So that's talking about when we fuse with the adjuster. Okay, Shenli.
Yeah. 今天你们正在经历你们的调整者的求爱期，且只有你们证明忠实于神性之灵寄托在你们身上的信任，对神性之灵寻求你们的心识与灵性的永恒结合，那么最终将会出现那种灵智一体性，那种殊胜的和谐，那种宇宙的合作，那种神性的协调，那种天国的融合，那种永无止境的身份融合，那种存在的一体性，是如此的完美和精致，以至于即使是最有经验的人格，也永远无法将这融合的伙伴凡人和神性调整者分开，或认为他们身份不同。
Okay, thanks. Well, that's interesting because I kind of wondered, Ricky, I kind of wondered about that. Like if after you're fused, if like someone could sort of see like, oh, there's the adjuster part of you and there's the human part of you. And they're saying, nope, once you're fused, it's just one identity that you cannot tell which part is which part.
对，就是你达到这种融合之后，你就没有办法来区分哪些部分是思想调整者的，哪些部分是凡人的。
So that's kind of good to know. Once you're fused, you're really fused.
啊，对你混合了就是混合了，就是灵智一体性这种宇宙的融合。
You know, you really do become like a God man. I mean, once we fuse, we're not perfect yet, but we are filled with perfection. You know, we're still on our way to perfection, but we have within our being half of our identity is perfect already.
我们这个身份哈，那个融合之后就是一个神人的身份，我们还没有达到完美的境界，但是我这一半的我们已经是完美的了。
But we can have that now too if we truly decide to do God's will right here on this earth, then we are filled with a perfect spirit who does become part of us right here in this world too.
但是在这个世界，凡人的物质的世界，如果我们决定执行神的旨意，我们也相当于就是，也相当于就是有臻于完美的这个素质的。
So, okay, so that we finish that section, we can read the next one. We could take a little break. Does
Yeah.
anyone have any questions?
那有没有问题这一段？读完这一段，我们就可以稍微休息一下。那么在休息之前，问问大家有没有什么问题？这一章110读的第一部分有没有什么问题？
我因为我读别的就是我读别的资料经常会说到 mind 跟 heart， 但是这个里面就很少提到这个 heart。那这个思想调整者是不是就是在我们的这个心灵里
面 ？Mind heart， 你认为对应的是心灵吗？
对，心灵就是 heart。思想调整者
在那个御书里边大概不提这个词，对，因为那个ask Heidi，from other spiritual work, you know, there might be of course 是不是你指的是那个像奇迹课程、爱的课程里边都有啊？
对，很多就是包括印度教的都会提到这个
mind. They have the words mind and also have word of heart. But in Urantia book, what is the corresponding word or term for heart?
Who's asking this question?
Shenli.
Oh, Shenli. So you're okay. So the question is, what's the difference in the Urantia book between our hearts and our minds?
Yeah.
Not really a difference between mind and heart. I mean, does it mean that the adjuster is indwelling in the heart?
Well, I know I think I know what you're asking, because the way we think of it, right? It sort of feels like the adjuster is in our heart, right? We feel like the adjuster's in our heart, but the Urantia book always says he's working through our mind, and that's because he's trying to change the way we think, because our feeling, what we don't realize. Oh wait, Ricky, I should let you translate before I say.
对，我们就是也可以说像调整者活在我们心中，但是这个心，但是主要思想调整者主要是在我们的心智或者叫心识当中起作用，就是来调整我们怎么样想的。
I think that there is a place inside of us where our hearts and minds are almost the same thing.
在某种程度来说，这个mind 和 heart 实际上是同一回事。
But the reason the thought adjuster is so concerned with our thoughts is because thoughts, everything starts with a thought. Emotions are the product of thoughts. If we change the way we think, we change the way we feel. And we feel with our hearts. We think with our minds.
那为什么思想调整者这么关心思想？因为我们就是改变了思想，我们也就改变了情绪哈。情绪就是我们怎么样感觉的。
We can't have negative thoughts in our mind and yet feel good in our heart at the same time.
我们没有办法有一些负面的思想，但是呢，又在情绪的层面觉得还挺好。
So in order to even feel the thought adjuster living in our heart, we have to make the decision in our mind to feel that, to acknowledge that our thought adjusters there exist, to give it permission to work with us, to listen to. I mean, a big thing is listening. You listen with your mind, but you can listen with your heart too.
对，我们就是想要感到思想调整在我们里边，那么我们就要做决定，就是承认它的存在，给它允许它跟我们的思想工作，然后相当于听从它。
I think a lot of I think, most human beings never read the Urantia book.
大部分人并不读《玉苒廈之書》。
And I think that many, many, many people, when they say listen to your heart, they're really saying listen to your thought adjuster.
那可能很多人说，哎呀，听从你的心，其实他们那个意思其实就是指的听从你里边的思想调整者。
So maybe your thought adjuster is your heart.
那有可能你的心就是你的思想调整者，你的思想调整就是你的心。
And maybe not.
有可能不是。
but they're very closely related.
那就是这两个概念可能是比较那个紧密的联系一起的。
Does that make any sense at all?
那这样能说能有明白多一点吗？
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I can't say the Urantia book doesn't really say this. I got this from my studies of the law of attraction, but I can't say enough how important it is to learn to monitor your thoughts, because everything starts with thoughts. We have to learn to think positive thoughts.
我这个是基于学习这个吸引力法则得到的启示。那么我没有办法强调，怎么强调都不为过，就是要监督啊，觉察我们的思想，因为一切都是从思想中来的。
And you can't change the way you think until you start monitoring your thoughts. Most people have no idea what they're thinking. So the first step is to start listening to your thoughts and paying attention to them.
对，就是要开始倾听你的声音里边你是怎么想的。
Ricky, should we take does everyone want to read a little more? Should we take a 5-minute break and then read a little more?
Heidi，我这边有个问题，就是我想问一下，这个调整者都与你们同在，这个你们的话，它指的是不是物质身体里面的这个小我，就是其他灵性资料里面说的那个小我，还是什么？
Yeah, Morning Star has a question. Heidi, if you need a break, you can come back and you can answer the question after the break.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to take the
Yeah.
dog out for a minute, but no, we're fine. I can answer now.
Morningstar said, that it says the thought adjuster is indwell us inside of us, in our inner self. What's your question again? I
就是说那个
跟我
调整者，
同在啊，跟调整者跟我们同在，然后呢？
他说的你们是指的是什么？就是你们是不是对着这个调整者与我们同在，是与我们这个物质小我同在吧？他不是说的是那个你是指的是什么？
Yeah,
有点困惑。
Morningstar confused that he indwelled in us, he indwelled in where it's our physical self, physical mind is indwell. Where does it indwell?
Yeah. So that's what they were trying to explain in this section.
对，他就是这一部分就是在讲这个他思想调整的具体是住在我们哪一个部分。
But it's quite confusing.
还是比较很令人困惑的。
Because they say that it is not actually in our physical brain.
它不在我们物质的大脑。
But it does indwell our mind. So that means they're making a differentiation between our mind and our brain.
对，但是住在我们的心识当中，所以这个地方相当于区分那个心识和大脑。
So maybe scientists are discovering things about our mind being more than just our brain. They're saying you actually do think with your heart also. These are all new scientific developments.
What's the new science development?
I have heard, I'm a little fuzzy about it because I just heard it once a while ago, but there's some kind of new scientific developments that say that your mind is not constricted to your brain. Your mind operates throughout your body. You can think with different parts of your body. Like your heart also does some thinking, like it's not just your brain that does the thinking, or that your mind is more than just your brain.
对呀，那就是有一些科学的证据证明，这个心识啊，不光是这个，就是头脑才可以进行心识的活动。那么你的物理的心脏啊，我反正听说是你的肠道啊什么的，它都可以参与你的思想的过程。
And your thoughts affect every cell in your body.
对，那甚至你的每一个细胞它也参与。
And sometimes you do things, your body does things instinctively without you even thinking. What's making your body do things without even thinking? How could your body do things without thinking, right? Your body, it's just a body. So your mind must be in every part of your body.
对，你的心识你就是你的身体有可能那个下意识的做一些的动作，根本你没有头脑没有想，那么就是身体本身它也是有意识的。
But I'm out of my depth here. Don't quote me on any of this.
啊，就说这个是他的想法，对，不要引用他说的话。
So what I said before when we read about exactly what your question is, what I said was, I think the best way to think of it is, instead of saying the thought adjuster is in my mind, we can say the thought adjuster is a part of me or associated with my mind, or somehow indwells my whole being, but monitors and communicates with me through my mind, something like that.
那么也可以另外一种说法，也可以说那个思想调整者是我的一个部分，跟我的意识相连，但是它居住在我整个的我当中，只是通过心识来跟我交通。
So it's confusing because they say the thought adjuster is not a physical entity in our brain, but it does indwell our mind. So I think, okay, I'll let you say that.
对，所以思想调整者不是一个物理的这个存有，但是它实在来讲居住在我们的心识当中。
So if we have a body and our mind's not working, our thought adjuster goes away.
我们如果只有一个身体，但是呢心识不工作了，那么思想调整者就走了。
But as long as our mind is working, our body doesn't have to be working. We could be paralyzed or in a coma, but our thought adjusters always stays with our mind.
对，那就是说，如果我们的意识还在的话，身体即使瘫痪了或者是昏迷了，但是思想调整者也还在。
And maybe our soul too, because when we die, we'll leave our body behind, but the part of us that goes to the next world, the thought adjuster goes to Divinington. So we go to the next world without our thought adjuster. He meets up with us again when we reawaken on the next world.
What part of us goes to the Mauritian world?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that the body doesn't, right? So
Yeah.
so the soul, the soul mainly, I'd say mainly the soul, but our whole identity also. Not just our soul, our whole identity. There's it's a package.
对，我们人格，其实就是到下一个世，到那个灵智界，我们是去到那个人格，就是我们死了之后，我们这人格还是要去到下一个世界，但是呢，死了之后去思想调整者回到神之圣都，但是他在下一个世界灵智界的时候，他会跟我们汇合，跟我们这个存有 identity 是人格
So when
汇合。
so when we die, we can either, let's assume we're all going to make it to eternity. We either go become a sleeping survivor and we have to wait for the next mass resurrection, in which case we have no concept of time. We won't know if we've been sleeping for 1,000 years or for 1 minute. That's one alternative.
死了之后，有一类的就是成为这个沉睡的续存者，就是他等到复苏，然后再进到下一个世界。另外一个就是大概是他要说的。
But if we become a sleeping survivor, the thought adjuster goes back to Divinington until we're woken up again.
那么如果我们成为沉睡的续存者，那么就是那个思想调整者会待在神之圣都，一直等到我们醒来。
He's only with us when we're capable of making mental decisions. And when we're sleeping.
Yeah.
Regular sleep, not resurrection sleep.
对，他只是来跟我们团聚，就是我们能够做那个智性的决定的时候。
So the other alternative is 3 days from after we die. In 3 days, we wake up on the Marancha world in like a special resurrection hall, a special place. I think it's kind of like a pod. I think we're going to be in kind of like a pod.
那另外一个途径就是3天以后嘛，就死后3天以后，在一个 在灵智界，也就是宅下世界复活醒过来，那就相当于我们他说形容像一个在一个花苞里中复活。
And we're given a new body. We'll have the same sex, the same gender. We're given a new body, and we'll be like, unless we're a child. If we're already an adult, we'll be like an adult, but we won't be an old person. We'll be like kind of in our 30s, that kind of age.
对，我们给予一个性别一个身体，如果我们那个死的时候不是孩子是成人的话，那么我们大概就是给一个成人的身体，大概30岁左右，不是一个老的，也不是很年轻的。
And our guardian angels will be with us when we wake up.
那我们的护卫天使是跟我们在一起的，当我们醒来的时候。
And our thought adjuster will have come back to us and will be indwelling us again when we wake up.
调整者这时候又会来跟我们团聚，然后又合一。
So we'll never know in our whole eternal existence, we'll never know what it's like not to have a thought adjuster.
在我们永恒的续存当中，我们很难想象，就是没有思想调整者的参与。
So then our soul that we developed with our thought adjuster on this life will be our mind on the Marancha, in the Marancha lives.
对，我们这一世就发展的这个灵魂，就是在我们下一世灵智体的时候，那个我们的心智。
It's like we, without even knowing it, we are creating our Marancha mind now with our thought adjuster.
我们没有主动的意识到，但是我们在这一生，物质的这个人生当中，的确是跟思想调整者共同来创造我们的灵魂，也就是我们在下一个世界灵智界的时候的心智体。
So I imagine that our thought adjuster will really indwell our soul on the Marancha world.
对，那就是在灵智界的时候呢，就是思想调整者完全跟我们的心完全居住在我们的心识当中。
And our soul will continue to develop on the Marancha world.
我们的灵魂继续在灵智世界进化。
But how exactly the thought adjuster indwells us? Well, we know that some high spiritual beings like solitary messengers, when they see a mortal with the thought adjuster, they can see like a divine spark. They see like a light in that person.
那像他们住在我们里边的形态，那个像单独使者就这样的高维的灵界存有，他们看到我们凡人时候，他会看到我们的这个神圣的火花，就是每个人里边这个思想调整他是看得见的。
But I don't know if they see that light shining in our head or in our heart or just kind of somehow in our whole being. I'm not sure how that light looks to them.
他不确定，那么他看到的这个神圣的火花是在我们头的地方啊，心的地方啊，还是我们整个的身体啊，是神圣的火花什么形状、什么样子，他不知道，在这个单独使者眼里我们是这样调整者什么样子。
But they are very, very real. And they are even visible on a very higher frequency. They are very much in us, a part of us, very real, and they are even visible on the highest frequencies.
对，他们是真实存在的，是可见的，在比较高的振动频率，是我们的一部分，这是 就是这个思想调整者。
But exactly how they indwell our mind, I have no idea.
啊，那他具体怎么样居住在我们里边？他说他也不知道。对。They are all descriptions and not the reality itself.
Yeah, I mean,